What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mic Check Podcast, back with another episode as we're closing in on the end of the NHL regular season. Joined by Sam, as always. Sam, how we doing?
We are doing well. We're kind of sad overall.
Right off the bat, that didn't seem too enthusiastic right there, and I wonder why. Oh,
Yeah,
buddy. Oh, come on now. Come
just
on now.
trying to stay positive, but the season's over. We're looking at it October. We're hoping the draft lottery goes our way.
Oh,
Back there.
no. Oh. We're hitting those tankathon,
Oh yeah,
buttons to
every
see if
day
we can
recession.
get Connor Bedard. Yeah, amen, buddy, amen. But yeah, welcome, guys. We've got a pretty short, quick episode for you, but a really fun one. I'll put at it because we're gonna do NHL awards, our predictions for the upcoming awards season once the regular season is over. We're going to pick our top three players and kind of just go through each and every award that is given out at the end of the season. And then to finish it off, we'll take a quick look at the NHL wildcard standings and talk that over. But yeah, Sam, I mean, this was your idea last week, so I'll let you take the wheel. This is all you, buddy. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to break down sort of our takes on what would be best awards, the awards finalists. We're coming to that year where the point of the year where the awards finalists are kind of being separated. We have sort of an idea of who's at the top. But I think this award seasons and award seasons in general kind of get bogged down by narratives. So we kind of wanted to have our own take on it, sort of like our opinions, but sort of different from some other ways of thinking about things. So these are kind of just our awards takes and who we think are the true finalists for these awards.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can get right into it with our first award.
Which one do you want to start off with?
So the Hart Trophy, also known as the league's MVP. So for my finalists, I have Connor McDavid. That's obvious. I have David Pastrnak and I have Matthew Tkachuk. And of those three, I think Connor McDavid's the obvious winner. I mean, he's putting up more points than everyone on planet Earth, and the team's good. But David Pastrnak and Matthew Tkachuk do have cases, right? David Pastrnak is the best player on the best team in the league by far. He is going to finish with well over 100 points, scoring goals like crazy, just driving play at such a high level. And with Matthew Tkachuk, obviously the Panthers have not had a great year this year. That's obvious. That's been overstated on this podcast. But he's meant everything to this team. He has been absolutely incredible. He has scored goals. He's manufactured plays. He's been absolutely outstanding this year. I think he deserves a finalist spot just for that, for keeping this team afloat, really.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. My finalists are going to be you obviously Connor McDavid off.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to win it. Let's be real. I mean, 143 points already this season is just
stupid.
It's ridiculous. And the best thing about it too is this is something we probably never thought we would see.
Right.
Coming forward, at least just the separation. I mean, 143 points, and the next closest is Draisaitl at 116. Like that's his teammate. Just unbelievable, right? It just shows you how much that guy dominates the league. And then other than that, there's one other player, and that's Nikita Kucherov, who's at 100 points so far. Probably expecting Tkachuk, Pastrnak, and a couple other guys to reach the 100 mark. So it's going to be interesting. But yeah, first one is Connor McDavid. I think it's pretty clear that he is going to be the winner. But if I'm to throw two other people out there, I'm going to go with David Pastrnak as well. I know he's on the best team, like you mentioned. He just plays the game smart and safe, and he produces at such a high level. So I cannot put him in my top three. My third one, though, is, I mean, it's a little different, but I think he's very rewarding of it. I'm going to put Nathan MacKinnon out there. The guy who's missed a ton of time this season, and the points that he has put up, and he's at, I think, 95 points right now this season. I mean, you saw how bad they were without him and some other key players on that team. And since he's come back, it's been a tremendous season for him. And like, what does this mean? I mean, most valuable player, but also most valuable to your team. And since they've been back, Colorado, they're now in that 2 position in their division, ultimately could take over their first seed in their division, possibly the first seed in the West. And that's the reason I'm going to throw his name out there, is just because what he has done for that team after being in such a dark time when he was out. Coming back in, they're acting like the Stanley Cup champions they were last year. So that's why I'm going to put Nathan MacKinnon at 3. If I had to go 4, though, I'd put Matthew Tkachuk there.
Yeah, Nathan MacKinnon's an interesting one. If you break it down, he has 95 points in 62 games. That puts him 3rd in the league in points per game played, behind McDavid and Draisaitl. And when you think about it, yeah, he missed some time, and now that he's back, Colorado looks just as formidable as they did last year. Maybe not as quite, but they're still up there as a contender, even with all the pieces they've missed and the down seasons they've had from some of their defensemen like Girard, Taves, and Makar, who've not had the year they had last year. I think another thing that's important for MacKinnon's case is that he's never won this award, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's huge when you consider that he's been a top 3 player in this league for a while now, and they've won a cup. I think there might be an It's Time award coming up for him soon if he has another year like this. I just think we can agree this is not the year for that, because Connor McDavid is now eclipsing point totals that are like in the Wayne Gretzky area that we've only seen a few times, and well before goalies established the butterfly position. So I think in this day and age, what Connor McDavid is doing is really unprecedented.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it too the other day as well. If you were to take Connor McDavid, say he just wasn't a person,
Sure,
and it just wasn't in the league, I don't think Draisaitl would have the amount of points. I don't think he could handle the workload himself. He'd still be a really good player, but he definitely could not handle it and be at the streak that he is at. So if you were to take McDavid out of it, that's basically why I'm bringing up, a guy like Nathan MacKinnon and just some of all these other players, Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, if you take Matthew Tkachuk out of the Florida Panthers based on the season they've had some injuries. It could be very different, and they're still fighting.
Disastrous.
Yeah, and the same thing with MacKinnon too. I mean, we saw it as soon as he went to injury, they were struggling hard, very hard. So that's why I throw him in there. Other guys, I mean, maybe Kucherov. I feel like he's a solid player there. I mean, they still have a stacked team.
That's the thing, and they're kind of been disappointing this year.
Yeah, and that, I mean, you kind of, once again, you have to throw in David Pastrnak in there just because of the season he's having, but it's a stacked team. So realistically, if you're just going for somebody that truly means something to their team outside of McDavid, I think the front runners are MacKinnon and Tkachuk.
Yeah, that makes total sense, and it does kind of make it seem like Pastrnak would not be in this race if not for the fact that the Bruins have been this good.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's 52 goals and 46 assists on the year. And I mean, if not for McDavid scoring 60, he'd be the best goal scorer in this league right now.
Yeah.
He's been better than Ovechkin this year at scoring goals, better than all these guys, Jason Robertson. It's really impressive what he does scoring the puck. But I mean, even still, that team is so well balanced that it's a team effort. But I think still he deserves that spot just because of how good he is and how good the team is. I think that factors in.
100%. I agree with that.
So we can move on now to the Calder, the best rookie. And I think there's another clear front runner, but I still want to talk it out because I don't think it's as easy of a pick as Connor McDavid is. So my finalists, I have Matty Beniers. That's the obvious one. Matias Maselli from the Arizona Coyotes. And I have Owen Power from Buffalo Sabres. Obviously, Matty Beniers has been excellent this year. Has been just been everything that Seattle could have hoped for in their number 1 draft pick, 2nd overall just a couple of years ago. And he's been excellent, right? He's leading the team, not in points, but he's been just everywhere on the ice. He's been well-rounded. And the thing is, they're winning with him, right? So for him to impact winning at such a young age, he's the highest scoring rookie already. I think that's a case in and of itself. And then for Matias Maselli, I think he's come on late, right? He was sort of a late addition to this team, and he was sort of called up because of all the trades that Arizona ended up making, getting rid of their veterans. He's been excellent this year. He's been really a bright spot in what's been a pretty bad year, as always, for Arizona. But he's been great. He's putting up points. And he's second leading scorer among rookies, 43 points already. And I think also, I mean, most of those are assists, 10 goals and 33 assists in 57 games. But he's been a really nice bright spot for them. I think someone better than they've expected. And then my last one, Owen Power, this is definitely more of not a stats award, but I think just an overall play award because Owen Power, 4 goals, 25 assists this year. He's a defenseman, right? And he's getting acclimated. And I think what he's done to impact the Buffalo Sabres on the defensive end has been really noticeable. I think for a rookie to be that impactful, especially a defenseman defensively, I think is very rare, and I think he deserves some credit for that.
Yeah, I definitely I can see that point being brought up there. I'm the same with the top two that you had because it's just clear, and I think Matty Beniers is ultimately going to do it.
I
The
do.
only thing that that like kind of gets me when it comes down to like rookies and stuff is it's it's so different because you'll have some rookies step in right off of their draft year, and some will, go down to Rochester or sorry, their AHL team, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it may be, develop, then come up, and then technically be a rookie, right?
Right.
So this has always been, just kind of interesting for me and how they go about picking their finalists because I like to look at which players are just coming up right away to play. I think that's like what a true rookie is, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
Matty Beniers, obviously he sat or
Last year he did, yeah.
sat last year.
Mm-hmm.
So he got that first year of just being around the organization and slowly was brought up. So good for him. But some of these other guys out there who were just thrown in right off their draft year or maybe didn't sit a couple years, depending on what it is. It's so different to like for me to at least get a grasp at it. So I honestly I don't even have a true number 3 to go ahead and pick. I mean, I like getting the Sabres props there from you with going Power.
I love Owen
And
Power.
the thing though is like with Power, I think at the end of the day, he is just so young. And if the Sabres were in a better scenario to do a different route and they could have had him sit a full year, go to Rochester, develop, and slowly come up, he would clearly be probably a rookie of the year, if he got to develop for at least a year or so. It's just astounding to watch. But I mean, yeah, there's so many other mid-pack guys here. I mean, even like Johnston, Kent Johnson
Kent
too. I mean,
Johnson's been great.
they're having phenomenal years. It's so hard for me to pick that true number 3. That's why I'm not going to, because the top two are just so clear right now.
Yeah, definitely. And we can debate Maselli versus Beniers. I mean, Maselli's had half the year that
Yeah.
Beniers has had in terms of games played. But I think Beniers, for what he's done, 20 goals and 30 assists so far this year, for a team that's winning and in playoff contention, I think factors in a lot here. And he's just been really good on both ends of the ice, and I think that's really good. But Maselli, I mean, for a player to develop in what Arizona has been put in, right? For a player to come out of, I don't want to say a dumpster fire because I don't want to be that harsh, but in a rough situation that Arizona is, I mean, we see a lot of young players just falter at that spot. And not him. He's found a way to develop despite all that and to become a very impactful player at this stage. So I think that deserves props. And your point that you made about rewarding younger players, it makes sense. I mean, Michael Bunting was 25 years old when he was a finalist for the
Yeah.
Calder. It's kind of silly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm giving Owen Power some props because defensemen don't come in this young and have impacts. And I love what he does defensively. I think he's going to be very good for a very long time.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. He is slowly, on his journey in his young NHL career, and to see what he's doing now, especially with a organization that is slowly on the rise. They're not even there yet, and they're all just young kids. There's no true old defenseman on this team that can really show him like what it's like, how to prepare to go on the roads. I mean, he's looking over and seeing Rasmus Dahlin, who's played 5 years in the league, but at the same time, he's still a young kid too. I mean, he's got really no true individual on that D core lineup to show him. There's no vets there. So, yeah, I do give him a lot of props for having such a phenomenal season with not a lot of veteran presence and just doing what he can.
Absolutely. But I think ultimately we have to just award the best player, and that's been Matty Beniers.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with him He's been just excellent.
Well, the one thing too I'll mention about Berniers is just I mean, the fact that he is on a new franchise
Mm,
and been able to become that face of that franchise and really take all that responsibility on his shoulders. That's the impressive point for me. Like, even
exactly.
though he sat last year, it's just the fact that he has so much more on his plate of, he's got more to deliver on. Some of these other rookies, they're playing on a Dallas Stars club who's amazing, which, obviously the Kraken have been doing well, but it seems like Matty Beniers has taken it under his own wing to be like, okay, I'll be the guy for this team.
You're 100% right. He is the face of a new franchise. He's
Yeah.
supposed to be the leader going forward, and he's put a great first step forward. He's the centerman that they hoped he would be, and that's like huge expectations to have for him, and he's delivered, and that deserves some credit too.
Yeah. Obvious rookie of the year.
So our next award, we have the Norris, best defenseman in the league, and I think the obvious pick for the league is Erik Karlsson. I think that's the guy who most people have in front. Me personally, I don't like awarding defensemen who are that bad defensively just for my own taste in hockey. I don't think it's fair just to give it to the guy who scores the most points. That was the same debate he had last time he was a finalist was, yeah, he puts up all this rate and he's a great power play quarterback, but does he do the job on the other side of the ice, which is sort of the most important job for a player in his position? So I left him off my ballot. I
Okay.
have I have Rasmus Dahlin, Adam Fox, and Hampus Lindholm as my finalists. And you could sway me on either one of those three. I mean, break it down. Rasmus Dahlin is finally having his breakout year. True number one defenseman for the Buffalo Sabres this year. I think what he's done on both ends of the ice, he's been absolutely outstanding. Adam Fox, best power play quarterback in the league by far. He's just the best setup man we have in the defensive spot. He's like what people think Erik Karlsson is, but actually good defensively. And he's by far the best defenseman on that New York Rangers team. And he's sort of like, I think, carrying more than he should on that defensive squad because so much of their resources went to their offense and their top six that left him sort of holding the bag in a lot of ways. I mean, he has to cover for a lot back there with Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko, who are not great defensively. And Hampus Lindholm, I just think what he's done in that Boston system, he's been so completely reliable playing with Charlie McAvoy. He picked up the slack when Charlie McAvoy missed the beginning of the year. He's just been really reliable and getting out of Anaheim, which is always sort of a tough situation to play in. He's come and blossomed into his full self, and I love to see it, and I want to reward that.
Yeah. I'll go 4 guys here just because I have to throw Karlsson in there just based off of the numbers. I 100% agree with what you are stating in the sense of like his type of play. Realistically on a team right now that's not doing anything whatsoever. So he's just going out there just to get the points. Not, a whole lot to back up other than just his points going forward. And, just having a really good last, season for maybe however long he's got left in his career.
Yeah,
Good for
great
him.
bounce back season.
Yeah. But going in my 2 through 4, which is realistically would be my 1 through 3. I'm going to throw Josh Morrissey out there. I like his game. Yeah. He's meant a ton for the Winnipeg Jets, who, at the same time, you got to remember that team. We've talked about them a lot in the sense of they don't truly have that one player that, can take over a game at moments. Like, they're superstar. They're a very evenly distributed team. What he's been doing, though, it seems like he would be that guy for that program. So I'm going to put him up there. I think he's done a phenomenal job. I'm going to throw Adam Fox up there, too, as well. Just like you said, I think he's had a hell of a season. I know he's on a super stacked team, but he just plays the game well. He does everything you want as a defenseman, and still to produce at some points at a high level is fantastic. So he's the all-round competitive defenseman, and I love that. And he can lay the body when he needs to, but he's just so smart too in tough situations. If he needs to get the puck out of his own zone, he's not going to do anything to hurt his team, and he just plays the game so smart. I think he's got one of the best IQs out of all these defensemen, listed high up in the point department. So I'll throw him at 2, 3. And then I got Rasmus Dahlin as well. And the reason why I'm throwing Dahlin up there is, once again, I'll mention it, they don't have a true veteran presence, of old vets out there to help them spark. He is now their vet. And what he does offensively is amazing. He runs a really good power play. But also, too, just when they need a spark, he's able to take it in on his own. He scored some really fantastic goals, late goals, and also, too, his assists are just unreal. And they are probably the difference makers in them winning so many games this season and putting them in the playoff hunt technically, even though I don't think they're going to make it. And I think finally he's just deserving of the credit that, what, at least for where he was drafted at. Number 1 overall in 2018. It seems like finally he's had his year, and I think he'll just get better and better and better. And I think he's deserving of having a finalist selection. So I'll take Rasmus Dahlin.
Definitely. I think we have 2 of the 3. Josh Morrissey's one I left off, but definitely deserving. Great breakout year for him.
Well, I mean, you go more classy. I mean, obviously, you're, like you said, you're a more classy, old school guy in the sense of picking for at least the defenseman, and I completely understand with that. I mean, it's such a different game nowadays where there are a ton of defensemen coming in and getting points, but at the same time, it's like it's not worth it if you're a minus 25 on the season.
Certainly.
So that's what I look at, and I feel like, yeah, maybe Dahlin might not be that overall great lockdown defenseman. He's had really good defensive moments throughout the season, but yeah, there are definitely times because he is going to be the guy that take the extra step, or maybe he'll pinch if he needs to try and make a play and score. But that's why I throw Adam Fox up there and Morrissey as well. I just like their play, and obviously I had to throw Carlson up there just because of the points.
Yeah. One guy I do want to mention that neither of us did was Dougie Hamilton. He was my top pick by far. And I think what he's done for New Jersey, anchoring that blue line, has been really underrated this year, because a lot of talking around New Jersey's great year has been around Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and all these guys now, Timo Meier they traded for. But Dougie Hamilton has been absolutely excellent this year on both ends of the ice. Super reliable, great body, steps up, does everything you want him to do, super physical. I think he's a guy that he was my toughest cut, and if you put him as a finalist, I cannot argue with that either.
I agree.
All right, so the Vezina Trophy up next. Vezina Trophy is a tough one, I think, because I don't think any goalie has stood out except for maybe one that we'll talk about, but I don't think any goalie it's either part of a tandem or just not been all that great. I mean, last year's great players, Jacob Markstrom, Igor Shesterkin, Andrei Vasilevsky, haven't been all that great this year. And so there's definitely some controversy either way. My 3 are Linus Ullmark, Ilya Sorokin, and Philip Gustafsson from Minnesota. So, I mean, where do you start? I think Linus Ullmark, by far the best numbers. He's been incredible in Boston as a tandem with Jeremy Swayman. I mean, Jeremy Swayman has also been quite good this year, but Linus Ullmark, I mean, he's under 2 goals saved average, goals allowed average. So under 2 for a game is pretty crazy. He also has a great save percentage, and I think just his overall numbers, he's been excellent. Ilya Sorokin is the one workhorse goalie that we have this year. He, of course, has been excellent. I think he's been the most important part of the Islanders' playoff push. And Philip Gustafsson, I think, it's an interesting one. He hasn't even played 40 games this year. He's coming on late because Marc-Andre Fleury was slated to be the starter, but he's been so good in the second half of this year. He's been sort of breaking out this year for Minnesota, and I think he deserves the credit for getting that 3rd spot.
I'd agree with you there, man. I'll go, at least looking at it, you got to throw Linus Olmark up there at the 1 just
Yeah,
because of
100%.
how well he's been doing. This is so hard because the same thing with when we were talking defensemen. I think he's got a good tandem going on. He's on the best team in hockey right now.
Mhm.
It's so hard not to throw him in there. I'll take him at number 1. I'll take who's your number 2 again?
Sorokin.
Yeah, I'll take Sorokin as well. I think he's had a phenomenal season, really helping that squad out. And man, number 3 though. See, this is the thing because I feel like in the past, we've had clear front runners, or at least
Yeah,
one to two goalies that literally are the MVPs of their teams, like because
100%.
they don't have the talent. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last Norris Trophy winner that like literally just held the team on its back. Wasn't
Norris
even
Trophy or
close.
Vezina?
Vesna, sorry, Vesna.
Shesterkin last year, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, the days when
It's not Brodeur, but
yeah, I know. I'm just trying to think like maybe the days of like Lundqvist,
sure,
or like
sure.
Ryan Miller, back in those days. I mean, those are the Vesnas I remember
Carey
because
Price, I think, is probably the
Carey
last.
Price, yeah, I would
For
say, yeah,
sure last one.
100% Carey
Man.
Price, 100%. That is definitely the last one. Because like for me, I'm looking at that third spot. I can't really go Hellebuck, because he's not, he hasn't been good. He hasn't been good.
He's been good, just not great.
No, and so that's why I'm not going to give him that third and final spot.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, gosh, man. I mean, I don't know. This one's just hard. I mean, I think you know what? I'll throw Frederick Anderson out there.
Really?
I'll throw Frederick Anderson out there. Listen, he's good, and I think it's just such a hard season for me to pick that last pick because realistically, once again, it's 1 and 2. It's Sorokin and Olmark. Those are the 2. Those are the finalists. I don't really think anybody else has got a shot. I'll throw Anderson out there. I mean, he's on a good team. I get it, but he has been good. At least the games that I've watched, Carolina and just how they operate and stuff. I feel like for being on a good team, he has definitely been in a lot of big games where he has just stolen the show and made it super easy for his team to get into grooves. And that's what I think is so good about him. And that's why I'll throw him at my 3.
Yeah, it's one of those things with the Vezina this year. Like either they're okay or they're just part of a tandem. And like Frederick Anderson, who you mentioned, he's only played 29 games this year. It's just one of those things.
Well, it's like also too, you look at other guys like in the past, Vasilevsky, right? Like
it's a 60-game player and puts out the same numbers.
Same numbers, right? So it's just like, when is your playing time? What type of system are you rolling? Like give me Olmark's numbers for the year. How many games has he played?
I'll tell you right. He has, in a tandem with Jeremy Swayman, he has 45 games played, 36 wins, 1.9 goals allowed average, and then 937 save percentage.
Yeah, that's with over
crazy
40
numbers,
games
but he's playing a little over half the games.
Exactly. So it's like it's so hard to look at, and that's why I'll throw Anderson out there, even if he does have a lower level of games played. When he does play, he plays great, and that's why. That's like I said, like I was getting at earlier. That just the Vesnas we grew up watching meant so much more because these guys were playing basically 3/4 of the season.
If it wasn't a back-to-back, they were starting.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I don't really have a front. I don't really have a solid mid pack. I'll take Olmark, and I think he'll win just based off of stats.
Yeah, I think Olmark's probably going to win. I chose Gustafsson as my third because, I mean, he's only been the true starter for half the year, but he's been so excellent in the second half of the year. So that's enough for me because no one else is separating. And I do think Olmark is going to win it. But if it were me, I think the only guy that meets our criteria for importance to team, games played, and performance is Ilya Sorokin, who's been the backbone of what the Islanders do, and has played. I mean, let me check right now, 55 games played this year, 924 save percentage. He's been excellent, and he's played enough. So for me, it's Sorokin this year.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'll take that all day.
All right. Our last award, we have the Jack Adams Award for Best Coach. I think this is another one that's pretty easy, but I still do want to debate it. We have.
Is it though?
I don't know. Do you have a take?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Front runner is Lindy Ruff by far.
I do have Lindy Ruff in my final three.
He should win it. I don't think he will, but he should win it 100%.
The obvious one is Jim Montgomery.
Yes.
Of Boston, who is when he replaced I'm blanking on his name, but the old coach of Boston.
Cassidy?
Yes, Bruce Cassidy. Thank you. I thought that was a terrible choice. I thought Bruce Cassidy was a great coach, and they made a mistake. And apparently I was wrong because it looks like they had a secret super team in waiting the whole time, and it just took Jim Montgomery to unleash them. There's that. Lindy Ruff has done an excellent job finding some combinations that work with a young team and put them in the face to become a true contender. Great job by Lindy Ruff with Andrew Burnett helping him out, former Panthers coach Andrew Burnett as his assistant. I think that's probably helped them a lot. And my last one, I have Jay Woodcroft. Kind of off the board. It's kind of weird to say a Connor McDavid team is well coached, like he's the reason. But I just look at how many players are having career years, how many breakouts they're having. I mean, obviously Connor McDavid having his best scoring year, 140 points. Leon Draisaitl is above 110. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to break 102 this year. So I look at that and I think, okay, like even Zach Hyman is point per game. There's something to do with coaching. He's putting them in situations to succeed. I think he deserves some credit.
Okay, let me ask you this. What does the Jack Adams Award mean to you? Does it mean, okay, you have a coach that gets a team to the best possible points? Does it mean it's a coach that takes a team that is not expected to do well and flips it? Or a coach that takes a suffering franchise and makes them relevant, but still not there? Like, what does it mean to you?
For me, ideally, it's the second one. Take a middling team and make things work.
Got you.
That's how.
And if that's the case, I think it's Lindy Ruff. I mean, listen, you can go out and say like, okay, they have a bunch of drafted superstars on that team, but those superstars are only going to do well if they're in a good system and they are brought up through a really good culture. I'm a big fan of Lindy Ruff, obviously, due to him being with the Sabres. But just also the fact that originally at times he wasn't even interested in coming back in hockey for a little bit. It seemed like his time was done. And then he goes out and starts working with the New Jersey Devils. Had been there for a little bit too. And it slowly turned this thing around. That's why I'm giving him the go-ahead on winning this award, is because compared to all the other coaches that are, coaching and have established good teams, he's the one who doesn't have the most, or at least didn't at the beginning of the season. So I throw Lindy Ruff as my one. You got to throw Montgomery up there just because of the season they're having. 3, I'm going to throw Cassidy. I mean, I kind of I love it because it's kind of a little bit of an FU, just saying like, all right, you let me go. I'll take this program. We'll go win our conference, whatever it may be. Dark horse. I'll throw a dark horse out there. Depends on how the season ends. If the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs, if the Sabres make the playoffs, Granato should be a finalist. You break a 10-plus year drought on a team that has no vet experience, no vet talent. I mean, they have vet experience, but it's not talented. And it's coaching a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Youngest team in the NHL. If they make the playoffs, he 100% should deserve to be right there on top of breaking a 10-plus year drought. Don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, 100% he should be there.
Yep. I think That's a good point. Historically
He
speaking,
has nothing. He has nothing. He literally has nothing.
Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson and Dylan.
Yeah, you say that, but like at the end of the day, imagine any of those other coaches stepping in 2 years ago. Remember, he's been there. He's had to deal with him and Kevin Adams had to deal with sending out superstars.
Yeah.
I wonder how that feels in the organization when you send your superstars out. You'd be like, oh, we're going to rebound from this. I just think the dude, I mean, I don't think he's going to be the Sabres, long run coach, but good for him. He's rebounded a couple times here and there.
Definitely. Right. I mean, it takes a lot to put a team like that together. And I mean, the thing I think a problem with this is historically, this just goes to the team that wins the President's Trophy.
I know, which I hate. I hate how all these awards. Yeah.
It's just that's the coach that wins it, right? And
the only award that's a clear runner is literally McDavid winning MVP. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. So,
and I think, that would mean Jim Montgomery would win it. I think coaches that take over a new team and they have a big jump usually also get a boost. I think of in Winnipeg, the way they've rebounded there, he's probably going to be a finalist there, even though I don't love it there.
I don't love it either.
I just think when a new coach takes over and they jump up in the standings, that's automatically a finalist. And I think Lindy Ruff kind of suffers from, he was already there, right? He's just improved, right? He just did a better job this year than last year. And I think that's an interesting one. Not because I think it's less deserving. In fact, I think it's more deserving to just improve as a coach and do a better job with the talent you're given. But I think historically that is not rewarded fairly. But for me, when I look at what Jay Woodcroft has done, I mean, so many of those Edmonton Oilers teams have been disappointing.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
We've had just talent come in and out, no answers for who can play with Connor McDavid except Leon Draisaitl. And they finally got it this year. They made it work. They have Nugent Hopkins doing great. Matthias Ekholm came in. He's doing great.
I was about to say, phenomenal job by them in their trade deadline. And just, it seems like, even though, like, there's the coach and the GM, a coach at the same time is basically a GM because they are involved in every single move.
Yeah.
Is this a guy we're targeting? Like, it's not just like, oh, let the GM make the move and be like, okay, well, this is all I got. No, they're there in the office as well. So that's 100%. I think he is well deserving of being up there.
Yeah. I think Bruce Cassidy is another one. You mentioned that he's going to get a boost from joining a new team, right? And them being better because Vegas was not very good last year. And now they're good. But still, if we look at these other options, I think they're deserving because they've gotten better internally, and I think that means something.
I agree. 100%, buddy. I think that's a solid way to look at it. And it's good that we talk about it because, like I said, we don't want to get down in this new day and age of it just being like, oh, if you're at the top, you win. Like
it's a narrative award.
Yeah. Let's be real. These awards for what we grew up watching them as is like the actual hard work that goes into it. It's the individuals that have changed their team tremendously and have made the league just that much better too. So yeah, I 100% agree. Everybody you've mentioned, I don't have a problem with them being up there. I think they're solid candidates, and we'll see what happens during award season. I think it'll just be, the first pick in every single one though.
Probably, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, is that going to wrap it up for awards? I think it is. Let's see. Do you want to do 5 minutes of playoff hunt?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's go over the Western Conference first. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier in the show, Colorado is moving up their charts in their division, which is pretty cool. They are only 1 point back of Minnesota with a game in hand. I ultimately think that they will take over that 1 seed position. Vegas doing well, though, with 98 points. Still, like team like Colorado has a game in hand on them, but pretty much everybody's even throughout the divisions. I don't think we'll see much change down the road, at least for the 1 seed. But you go into the wild card, Seattle and Winnipeg still holding those last 2. I thought Nashville was going to go on a run. I was very wrong about that, so I will gladly take that. Nashville,
they're not quite out of it yet. They could still sneak. They still have 2
they could
games.
sneak up against Winnipeg.
I take Winnipeg if Winnipeg falters. Maybe.
Yes. Winnipeg is 500 in their last 10. They've lost their last 2, so we'll see what happens. Looking at it now, though, differential plus minus. Nashville is minus 11. Not great. I know some people don't really like to think of that stat. I don't know what the stat line is, though, of teams with a minus differential making the playoffs. I think it's pretty low, actually, but I would say so. So at this point, I think it's just going to be Seattle and Winnipeg.
Yeah, unless Calgary's 2-game winning streak is the sign of something bigger, I don't necessarily think it is.
5-3-2 Calgary in their last 10. So they're getting, if they're not winning, they're at least getting some points here and there.
They get a lot of points. They push overtime a ton.
15 times.
Crazy. They're bad in overtime, but
Hey, if it gets you a point in, a final that is literally 2 points a game that you have to catch up to, it could mean all the difference going down the road.
It really could, because they may have 2 points to make up. So you never know. I mean, I would hate to see them get in, not because I have a vendetta against Calgary, but I don't think it's reasonable to have a team under actual 500 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're above hockey 500, but they've lost way more games than they've won.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, looking at it too, obviously Seattle is sealed. I don't think they're going to drop, or any of these teams will catch them to bump them out.
Right.
They'll be there. Winnipeg, I look at them. I kind of like we were talking about here and there, gave mention to their coach. I mean, I kind of went in and turned it around a little bit. Just a team, though, that's been together for so long, has the same lineups, have a couple guys coming up here and there, like Morrissey doing well to keep this program above. I think they'll stay in at the 2 spot.
I agree. They've had some injuries they've had to deal with, and I think they're finally healthy now, so they can finish strong.
Yeah. All right, let's break it over onto the Eastern Conference. The Metropolitan has been sealed. You got Carolina, New Jersey, New York Rangers. So they have all made their playoff, at least clinched their playoff spots. Now it just comes down to where they'll finish in their top 3. So, and then obviously Boston, Toronto, and Tampa really aren't going to go anywhere because no one's close to catching them. So it literally comes down to the last 2 wild card spots, which is held by the New York Islanders and Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
Islanders look good. They're 6-3-1 their last 10. They're playing the right way late in the season. I'm gonna go ahead and throw them up there. I think those. I don't know. It's hard because you look at. I don't know.
You really believe in them, right?
Huh?
You don't really believe in the Islanders.
I don't. But they're.
But you can't argue with the results, right? They're winning.
Yeah, because they're playing playoff hockey right now. So they're doing it right. So they've I don't expect them to fall. If they are not going to make it, it means one of these next 4 teams we mentioned just win out. Like that's the only way I see it.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go into number 2. Pittsburgh. This is the one that is a little right now.
They've had a chance. They've had chances to clinch it, and
as of late, they have not looked great. 74 games played, 82 points total. They're once again one of those overtime teams as well. Been to overtime or 10 overtime losses on the season, so they get points that way. But last 10, 4-6-0, not what you want heading into these final games. So I think they're a team that can still fall. I do. I think they will be just on themselves to stick at where they are because they are also tied with the same amount of games played with the Florida Panthers. Panthers are 3 points out behind them, and Panthers are 5-4-1, but they've lost 4 in a row.
4 in a row.
Yeah.
After having a 7-game point streak to get them back into the playoffs, they go ahead and blow that with a 4-game losing streak to teams that are inferior to them in some aspects, right? They lost a game to Ottawa. They lost a game to the Flyers, Philadelphia. They lost to Toronto also. Okay, fine, you can lose a game to Toronto, but this is not the time to go on these losing streaks. I think it's not even so much that they're out of it mathematically because they're not, but I think mentally they kind of lost it. And I think that's the biggest thing is going into this, they need to have so much go right. And I don't think in that locker room they're 100% believing. I mean, Keith Kachuk just came out with a podcast telling about how this Panthers team is soft, how they don't have the grits, and that's why they're not in the playoffs. I mean, that to say that about your son's team, I don't know what they're talking about behind closed doors, the two of them, but there's bad vibes going around this team right now that do not work well.
Yeah, and what's their schedule like down the road here?
It gets a little tough.
Do they play any of the Islanders or Penguins rest of the season?
Toronto tonight. They play Montreal after that on back-to-back. They play Buffalo, Ottawa. They don't play Pittsburgh or the Islanders, but they do play Washington, Carolina, Toronto again, and Columbus.
Okay, got you. Because I'm pulling up some of these schedules right now just to see what it's like. But yeah, Panthers. You lose 4 in a row this late. It could mean literally everything. Going into this final rush, they need to win their next game 100% just to get that momentum, and they need to ride that for as long as possible. We'll see what happens ultimately. Let's see. We've got next team. I mean, that's in that order would be the Sabres.
Yeah.
They have 1 game less played than Pittsburgh and Florida, and 2 less than the Islanders. They're at 77. So, like, if you were to look at it, if the Sabres were to win their next game, they're at 79 points in 74 games, which is where the Panthers are at. And then ultimately, those two would play each other down the stretch of the season. So that would be a very meaningful game. But, I mean, just looking at the Sabres schedule, they play hard teams coming up. They've got the Rangers at home. They play the Flyers, a big rivalry game. They play the Panthers, play Detroit, the Hurricanes, the Rangers again. They play the Devils, Senators, and then they get the Blue Jackets at the end of the season. But still, I mean, they just got a really, really hard path the rest of the way. I'm looking at the Islanders schedule. I think they got a game tonight against the Capitals. Go Capitals. But I mean, they're kind of in a hard stretch too, a little bit. I mean, they played the Capitals twice, the Lightning twice, Hurricanes, Philly, and Montreal. And you got to think too. Here's the thing that I'll mention as well. That last game of the season for every NHL team is so hard no matter who you're playing. Because, for example, Canadians will be playing the Islanders last game of the season. Canadians know season's over with. So they're going to bring up they're going to get a lot of other guys opportunities. Some of their older guys, might be their final game, depending on who they got out there. They're going to want to perform. They're going to want to perform and just go off on a high note. That's what all these bottom feeders want to do end of the season. Real quick. All right, give me the let's do you got like 5 minutes?
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, let's do this. Let's go Islanders. I'll try and write it down here. So they've got 85 points.
Yep.
You tell me the stretch They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 games left. They go to the Capitals tonight.
Win.
They win. They go to Tampa Bay.
Win.
You think it'll be Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay is sliding right now.
Okay. They go to Hurricanes.
Loss.
They play Tampa Bay at home.
You're gonna split with Tampa, so I'll say loss.
Okay. Flyers go to the Islanders.
Here's the thing.
Yep.
Later in the season, like you said,
Yep.
the bad teams get tougher because they're playing their young guys and they go all out and they have nothing to lose, so they play
bottom feeders. Bottom feeders.
And conversely, the good teams start resting their starters.
That's right.
Are getting ready for the playoffs. They're not giving 100%. You could steal a few. Where are they in that game? Is it home against the Flyers?
It's at home. It's at home.
The win still.
Okay, now at the Capitals.
They just played the Capitals. I'll say loss. I say you split against the Capitals too.
And then they finish off against Montreal at home.
That's huge.
Even with a win, they would be 4. They would be 4-3 in their final games.
So what's that give them? They're at 85 right now.
Yeah, 85 points. So
93.
93 points on the season. Okay, let's go to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Pittsburgh is what month are we in? March. We're in March. No, yeah, we're in March. Duh. Okay, we've got. Wait, why is this pulling? It pulled up something dumb. Hold up. Hold up, viewers. Give me a second. Okay, so Penguins tomorrow. Preds at Penguins.
In Pittsburgh?
Yes, sir.
I'll give the Predators the win.
All right. Then we got the Bruins at the Penguins.
Bruins win.
Okay. Flyers at the Penguins.
No, those games are always competitive. I'll give it to Pittsburgh because they always show up for those games.
Pittsburgh at New Jersey.
Pittsburgh.
Minnesota at Pittsburgh.
Minnesota.
Pittsburgh at Detroit.
Pittsburgh. They just lost a bad one to Detroit. I think they're going to want to revenge
that. Blackhawks at Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. 4-3.
Penguins at the Jackets.
Last game of the season?
Yeah.
I'll give it to the Jackets.
4-4. 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they're at what, 82?
So it gets them to 90?
Yeah, it gets them to 90.
Okay.
Panthers. Here we go.
Here we go.
Your team. Today against Toronto in Toronto.
Loss.
Then we go to Canadians.
Second night of a back-to-back loss.
Oh boy. Then you get the Jackets.
At home?
Yeah. No, in Columbus.
Loss.
Oh, dude, you're not. You think they're gonna lose 7 in a row? No, I'm giving you one between the Canadians and the Blue Jackets.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win another game this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. I got you 1-3. All right, Sabres at Panthers.
Give me a Panthers win there.
Okay, 2-2. Senators at Panthers.
Give me a Panthers win there.
3-2. Panthers at Capitals.
I think I like the matchup. Give me Panthers.
4-2. Maple Leafs at Panthers.
They can't lose every game in Toronto, right? I'll give them that one.
5-2. Hurricanes at Panthers.
Hurricanes. Oh, it's at home. We beat her.
5. You got them at 5-3. So
yeah.
79.
That gets
89. Just missed it.
Just so close.
All right, and for the hell of it,
they'd have to beat. Yeah, I mean, realistically, they'd have to beat one of Carolina or.
For the hell of it, I'm going to do the Sabres one too.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay. Sabres play the Rangers at home. That's a loss. Yeah. Then they play the Flyers. I'm going to go Sabres win that. Then against the Panthers, sorry, buddy, I'm going to do it. Sabres are going to win that. Then they play the Detroit Red Wings in Detroit. Sabres going to win that game. Then they play the Hurricanes. They're going to lose that game. Then they play the Rangers again, they're going to lose that game. So 3-3, they're going to play the Devils. They're going to beat the Devils. And be 4
Really?
and oh yeah, we beat them last time.
All right.
Gave them a good one on the road too. They like playing in that building. So I got them at 4-3. Then they played the Senators. The last 2 games at home against the Senators and then away in the Blue Jackets. I say they split that. I'm going to go 5-4 to finish off. So 10 more
points.
So that'd be 87 points for the Sabres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough.
It's tough.
It seems like it's settled because the schedule strengths are pretty even, and the teams,
not much you can do.
Advantage, not much leeway here.
Yeah, I agree, buddy. Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully that the predictions are somewhat there, but realistically, I think it's going to be the Islanders and it'll either be Pittsburgh or the Panthers, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we get some good games down the road. That's all we can ask for. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We will probably see you next Wednesday. Until then, be safe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week.